tell me a little bit about Centripetal Force Studio and, well, why you started it and where your passion lies within the studio?
I started Centripetal Force Studio because I thought that there was a new energy that needed to be brought to physical therapy. So people were coming to me for chronic pain,
Hmm?
one client after another, through my door, where I was in a different location across the street, actually. And so they kept coming in. I didn't understand why I kept getting chronic pain. I am a cash pay facility. I didn't accept any insurance contracts or anything like that. So I would super bill my clients. And,
Hmm?
you know, I had this big, pretty machine, Pilates machine in the window, and everybody was like, "What's that?" They were more intrigued with that than anything.
Right.
But the mindset was, why would I come to you as a physical therapist when I have and pay cash when I have my physical therapy benefits? Why would I do that? And so, of course, in the beginning and being a young physical therapist, it played with my mind a little bit. Was I doing the right thing? I wasn't sure, but I just had a calling, and there was a special person in my life that said, be the best physical therapist you can be, and the money will come. So I just continued to work with these people, and I say, I was in a very small space. I was behind closed doors, and I was like concocting my own recipe back there. I didn't know what I was doing exactly. I just knew it was Pilates. It was this movement. It was micro movement. It was connecting people to their core. But each time we would get in that vicinity of the core, which was the abdominals and everything, they started telling me about their life. And I thought that there was something very interesting about that. So I wanted
Mm.
to learn more. And one of my favorite people in the world and favorite author is Carolyn Mace. So I had many of her books. One of my favorites is Anatomy of the Spirit, and I wanted to learn from her. So here you go. I land, in her class for 2 years. First year is in Chicago, flying to Austin the second year, and learning about energy medicine. I kind of brought those tools back over the years, and I started developing this emotional map of the body and started understanding where this energy lied within the physical body. And I was able to connect to it. Each year it was getting better. I was honing in on it. People were coming in, and it was a way, it was a little tricky at first of how am I going to get people to understand this. I don't want to be the woo-woo girl. I'm not any of that. I'm just see what's wrong. I'm going to go in, and I beat around the bush for many years in the beginning, and I'm learning now how to just use it as I need it and when people are ready. But I just saw the need, and people came in and they were healing quickly,
Yeah.
very fast,
Mm.
and it's been a neat ride. So for those first few years, it was like, this is what we need in healthcare. But how do I do this?
There are, as you say, key words. There are key ideas that penetrate everybody. One of the words that I've learned in the last couple of years is how to take disease, and say it properly. Dis-ease. How do you feel about how we create disease in our body? It's what it is. Our body is diseased, right?
Absolutely. And one of my tagline is find your center. And when I first started, and now it's kind of been my tagline over for Empowered Health Foundation, is finding health in your soul. It was the first one that came to me. And all it is our body comes away from center. And at first it breaks down, and it's a small little minor ache or pain.
Hmm.
And then it becomes bigger and bigger. And our body will shift itself away from that pain because we don't want to feel it. And so it'll shift, and it'll shift again, and
Mm.
it'll shift to where they come in with this chronic pain, and now it's down into their ankle where it actually really started at their back.
Mm.
So what happens a lot of time is I work backwards, and we go right back to the source of where it all started. And there's a timeline with with experiences, life experiences, and so that's where it's become. It's the physical body and connecting it to our life experiences, and making those connections and connecting all the dots for them. A lot of them have had, different kinds of psychological therapies and different things, and they know a lot of what their traumas or their experiences, negative thought patterns are, but it's like, can it really deposit into my physical body?
Hmm.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Is it?
Yeah.
It's a new concept. It's something to understand, but it makes perfect sense intuitively. One of the things that you teach is taking responsibility for your life, for your feelings, and getting in touch with, as you say, your center. How is that achieved through exercise?
Well, when someone comes in and it's really taking them on the journey through their body. I'm not a psychologist, so I don't sit them down and just let's talk about your pain. And a lot of times what I've found out is that they've already done that. They've already done it. So I'm like, and they've kind of tapped out. They're like, okay, that's enough. So, well, I'm going to take you into your body that's tight and it's immobile. It doesn't really move that well. So they're uncomfortable. It's this fear pattern. I don't really know how to move there, or maybe they have pain there, whatever it is. And it's realizing that it's them. It's the patterns that they've locked inside their own body. Yes, there are different traumas and experiences that we can blame our parents or whatever experiences that have happened in our lives. But there is a place of healing and then a place of moving on. We can't get stuck in the victimhood of things because all we're doing is victimizing our own lives. And a lot of people stay there and it hinders their life.
And a lot of people are resistance to change in the beginning. Is this true? And this is a new way for people to, I don't know, pattern out of that resistance. Is physical movement a way to?
It's a nice, easy way to move into things. You know, they're coming in just to move. And that's all it is. And for me, if like that's what they're meeting me with, I'm okay with that.
Mhm.
And I've taught my other instructors, and one of the gals that works with me, she's like, I know exactly what they need, you know? And I was like that, I remember. And you do know exactly what they need, but it's everybody's life in their own time. So I realized that I had to meet my clients where they're at and take them on the journey. And one day they come in and they blow me away. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been waiting for years for that to happen. And it finally does. And it helps me to keep moving on further into that. But it's a journey into their body. And somehow they sink into it and they realize it's them.
Yes.
It's their physical body. It's not their mothers, their fathers, their siblings, whoever. It's their own life. It's their own body map, you know?
Yeah. On that thread, would you mind explaining a little bit about psychosomatic, or the mind spirit body relationship, and what that means, what you've learned about that, and what you try to bring to the sessions?
I really try to see, different mental thought patterns versus the spiritual thought patterns. They are really different. And I find myself as a practitioner getting more into the spiritual component because I do have to decipher them, because sometimes it's just on a mental level where they don't have a lot of self-worth. So, okay, and it's trying to build them up. So a lot of times I'll use gyrotonic to open the body. It's a three-dimensional system. So if they're tight in certain areas, we're going to open everything up. We're going to work in all the different diagonal patterns to open them. And a lot of times I can see them unwinding. And one day they come in and there's this vulnerable sense. And I'm like, aha, they're there. So then I usually use some kind of core connecting or Pilates usually. And then I plug them in. And then I start to build them back up. So that's kind of a central method of how I do things, and that's more of the mental connection there of really trying to unwind that pattern and build them back up with a positive experience. But then there's a whole nother spiritual component where sometimes someone's coming in, which was actually today, and it's on a whole different plane. This is not just, yeah, there's a mental thought pattern there, but this is a migraine, chronic migraines that are coming because he was inside the womb when his mother was being physically abused by the father. And so this spiritual component comes in of like, whoa, wait a second. We need some centering going on here. Here's your meditation. I want you to lay down, and I want you to, those balls that you can put your hands up at the top of the ball and your feet, and you're like going all over the place. That's what I pictured for him at this time of what he's going through. And he says, wow, that really does explain so much of my headaches, and I'm always dizzy. I said, okay, so I want you, when you get that headache next time, I want you to lay down. I want you to start breathing through your nose and out your mouth. And I want you to picture yourself in that ball, but it stops and your feet are on the ground. You're rooted. And from there, you're going to start to breathe and say, I am safe. And I want you to spiritually say to your father, stop it. And I want you to say to your mother, you deserve better. And then there's a healing that goes on there. And it translates into physical form, too. All of a sudden, he may get the call from his father for the first time. Hi, they've never spoke. Mother may finally see her self-worth and be able to move forward in life and not carry all that pain. And they can have a better mother-son connection. And he can also have a better connection with his twin brother where there is no connection. So that's a spiritual side, and that actually really goes into my foundation. So that's kind of where I want to go with that angle. But they're kind of separate in my mind, the way I work with them.
Yeah, and that's fascinating. You know, too, we're interested at plentywell.com to bring Eastern medicine, Eastern health, thought, preventive medicine, and combine it with the Western medical thought. Why has the health industry or the insurance industry in particular, since it's such a hot topic now, resisted preventive maintenance, preventive health, when we all know, well, we don't all know, we're all learning that it saves money and time and builds a better future for everybody health-wise? Why has there been that resistance, you think?
Well, over the years of doing this for about 12 years now, my number one comment that I get from my clients is, where were you 20 or 30 years ago? And you know, it's funny because each person kept saying that, and they were the ones that were more middle-aged, you know, and they were just like, why wasn't I told? Because it was like pattern after pattern just broke down. And we only fix that one little area, but we don't go back to the root. And the root is where all the healing occurs, and it actually occurs really quickly. But I think with the preventative thing, it is my approach, and we come in when we're just a little bit off center. Let me go in and get myself a tune-up, and let me go get centered again so I can live my life happy and I feel on track. But we don't, and we wait until we're practically broken to walk through the door. And that's what's happening, is that over the years, people have walked in and they're falling down on the ground. They're just like, I mean, I had a lady walk in with cancer and she just lays on my table, and I'm like, why? And I'm just questioning myself, so I learn and evolve. Like, why are they waiting so long? But it's our mindset of healthcare. And, you know, I don't think we can't quantify energy. We can't see energy on an MRI or an X-ray or brain scans, any of that stuff, but they know something is off. That is energy. How do you teach that? How do you know, it becomes this something that we have to teach people, the autonomy of just believing that they can heal themselves. And I mean, and then you go into a whole topic of, it's a big time business. It's a lot of money. You fracture your elbow, you go to the doctor, he gives you pain medicine and a cast or whatever it is, but then all of a sudden you have some shoulder pain after that. You go back. Okay, well, I'll give you, if it's chronic now, your options are medicine, surgery, or an injection. Those are really your three options. From there, they rarely prescribe physical therapy anymore. And then they're like on the table and they're cut, and then all of a sudden it opens up a can of worms for a whole other slew of problems to come out. And it's really unnecessary. There's so many times I've had several clients that come in that we stop the surgeries. Like, you didn't need that. You don't. And sometimes, and I'm not saying they don't need it, because I had a client that had, you know, stage 4 arthritic hip, you know, and we went in for a few years and did so much work to uncoil all of the muscles around it, where it was just a straight fix to go in there and replace the the head of the femur, and to go in there and that guy's back to skiing. It's amazing, but we had to unwind the body first to prepare it for surgery. So it was so easy to go in and fix it and then build him back up. He's golden. He's great. He's living a great life. So it's difficult to understand exactly why they can't. I think it would be so much cheaper, quite honestly. I think if they gave people sessions for massage therapy, Pilates, gyrotonic, they can use 12 of them a year, once a month, whatever, just to come back and be centered, or some energy therapy and those kinds of things. And people would feel so much more centered and happier at work. Families would be happier. It would be fantastic.
Do you see some of it changing? I know we both hope.
I do. I definitely hope. I see a lot of people in Pilates studios. Pilates studios are popping up everywhere, and I know that they're doing great things, and that's their hope for that. Gyrotonic isn't quite as popular of studios, but you see it mixed in with the Pilates studios for sure. The mindset has to change. I think they would go and spend that money on a dinner or on clothing or a date, whatever. But it's like, why would I spend money for that? Because we just wait for something to happen. That's just kind of how we think. So it's really this education, and the more we talk and the more videos like this and all the awareness that you're doing, I think will continue to educate people.
Let's talk a little bit about the Empowered Health Foundation. I know it's obviously a passion for you, and as you say, it brings the spiritual side, maybe some more of the mental side, and can you introduce us to your vision there and how you see the future with Empowered Health Foundation?
Empowered Health Foundation is, it feels like my soul's mission. I never thought I would start a nonprofit, but when I was working, as I'm working as a physical therapist, I had this one client. She would come in and tell me about her daughter's Crohn's disease. And I was hearing that she was going everywhere, natural medicine, Western medicine, she tried everything. And there was something deep down inside of me that said, you can help her, offer your service. But it was a little different than physical therapy. It added this energetic stuff, wasn't quite sure how they were going to take it. So finally one day I got enough courage and I did. So we started working with her. She did a lot of journaling. I had them, go through a ceremony to get rid of all of the energy that's connected to whatever the trauma, and there was. And one of my other clients says, who is president of a big nonprofit, said, Gina, you don't just have to give your services away. You can actually start a nonprofit and get paid for your services that you're giving. And I was like, oh, okay, I had no idea. So I started, I'm like, what am I going to call it? Okay, Empowered Health Foundation it is. So what had happened was I began to gift the service, and there was a magic in giving that service to someone out of just from my heart, and in turn is them giving me their story. Because without their story, I don't have anything. So it seems as though it's pointing in the direction of spiritual health care. It's where the spirit is in crisis, and really what your pain is the message, and it's trying to tell you something, but we're not listening, or we're just not educated in that way. So Empowered Health Foundation is that additive that we can add into healthcare, especially cancer. It's one of the biggest, diseases going on right now, and it's anger, guilt, resentment, shame, and grief are your 5 major emotions behind cancer. So when you look at those and figure out those threads and those patterns within the body, it really does uncover a lot of the pain, and the body naturally heals itself.
Oh, that's great. And how can we participate in this foundation if we're interested in getting involved, if we want to spread the word, if we want to help in some way? What's some of the stuff that's going on within the foundation?
Right now, currently, I just had a big meeting this week, and we, made some connections with how we're going to build the foundation, like building the structure. I just have this little grassroots vision that I'm like, hey, but I need help at this point to figure out how do we move forward from here. I'm dividing it into 3 sections, and we're working with kids, adults, and the older population. And so, actually, it's going to be end of life. So we're calling it Brain Core, Reconnection, and Transcendence. Brain Core is working with kids, and we're helping them connect to their core muscles, and through coordination and proprioceptive activities in school, and I'm correlating those with reading ability, classroom behavior, and what we found is that the kids that are the least coordinated, least amount of core strength, are having the most problems in class. So we go each week, we teach them jump roping, hopping, skipping, side braid walking, different running and gait patterns, and they're like tightening up, and they're becoming more aware and conscious, and they love it. So we're doing a little film there on how we can present this to hopefully the Long Beach School District, and hopefully they can get involved. And what I just described about where the spirit is in crisis, people can come and have this additive healthcare, of spiritual healthcare in their repertoire of treatment. Maybe it does go with the Western medicine. I don't know. It's just kind of right now, this is what our service that we offer. And then there's this whole bit that we're really just trying to get off the ground is end of life, and how it's that sunset years where the sun's starting to go down, and how do we prepare ourselves to die? And we got to make sure that our bodies are at peace, the unfinished business is taken care of, and we leave our family members feeling good, and we celebrate our lives, and that we heal that generational emotion that, one after another. It's like, say mom had breast cancer, but, she couldn't put up the boundaries with everyone. She gave too much, and she gave all of her heart energy, and it leaked from the breast tissue. And so we're worried about daughter, but if daughter has inherited the same female inability to draw boundaries, she has a bigger chance of getting breast cancer. So what we're hoping is by that point she realizes, I wish I would have drew more boundaries. I wish I would have known how to stand up for myself. I wish I would have known these things. She can hand that over to her daughter, and she can have a great life. And we can start all over again as a society. I feel like we're at the end of like a lot of generational pain. And so that's where the energy therapy comes in, to clean that energy, clean it, get it out. It's all old, stagnant energy that needs to be reset.
Yeah, love it. Your vision is inspired, and it's complete. I love it because of its completeness.
C4 Studio.
Yeah, c4studio.com, and then you have centripetallife.com.
I do. That's my blog.
Okay.
centripetallife.com is my blog.
Okay.
And we still have centripetal4studio.com. We just knew that was a little bit more difficult to spell, so we just went C4 Studio as a shorter version of it. But and then I have empoweredhealthfoundation.org.
Yeah, .org, the empoweredfoundation.org. And we'll all be wondering what happens, what comes out of that. It'll be very exciting. Thank you very much.
I'm excited too. Thank you. I really appreciate you contacting me. I'm flattered, actually. Thanks.
Thank you.